Back when I was working there, I uncovered secrets they never wanted us to see.
I witnessed it myself, every file, every trace, all pointing to the same hidden truth.
And today, I'm revealing what they tried so hard to bury, the very evidence that could change everything we thought we knew. In 1997, NOAA detected a sound in the Pacific Ocean so loud it traveled over 3,000 miles underwater. They called it the bloop. Here is the real voice. It's really engaging. For 15 years, scientists had no idea what made it. But that's just the beginning. Right now, beneath your feet, lies the most mysterious place on Earth, and we know less about it than the surface of Mars. We've explored less than 5% of our oceans, but what we have found down there will absolutely blow your mind. Stay with me, because today we're diving into classified territories where science meets the impossible. Let's start with a fact that'll change how you see our planet forever. The deep sea, that's anything below 1,000 feet, covers 95% of Earth's living space. Yet it's more alien than anything NASA has discovered. Think about this. We have better maps of Mars than we do of our own ocean floor. The Hubble Space Telescope has taken detailed photos of galaxies billions of light years away, but we can't see what's happening 2 miles beneath the surface of our own planet. In 2024, scientists found a glowing sea slug the size of a baseball living in the midnight zone, 3,000 feet down where no sunlight has ever reached. This thing creates its own light, using chemistry we're still trying to understand. But that's just the beginning. At the deepest point in our oceans, the Mariana Trench, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than at sea level. That's like having 50 jumbo jets pressing down on every square meter. To put this in perspective, if you took a styrofoam cup and dropped it to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, it would come back crushed to the size of a marble. Yet in this crushing environment, we found entire ecosystems. Xenophyophores, single-celled organisms the size of dinner plates. Amphipods that look like translucent shrimp but are actually more closely related to fleas. These creatures are living in conditions that would instantly kill any land animal. In 2024 alone, scientists discovered the largest coral structure ever found, bigger than a blue whale, and found evidence that bioluminescence has existed in our oceans for over 540 million years. We're talking about creatures that were creating their own light shows in the deep sea, before the first fish even evolved. Mystery number 1, the sounds from the abyss. Let's talk about the bloop, because this story gets stranger than any horror movie. In 1997, NOAA's underwater listening stations picked up an ultra-low frequency sound that was so powerful, it registered on sensors over 3,000 miles apart. That's like hearing a whisper in New York from Los Angeles. Here's what makes this terrifying. NOAA has over 150 hydrophones scattered across the Pacific Ocean, originally installed to detect Soviet submarines during the Cold War. These devices can pick up sounds from nuclear tests, earthquakes, and whale songs from thousands of miles away. The bloop lasted for over 1 minute and undulated in frequency, making it reminiscent of whale noises. But no whale could produce something this loud. We're talking about a sound that would need to come from an animal over 300 feet long that's bigger than any creature we know exists. Scientists calculated that whatever made the bloop would have had to be several times larger than a blue whale. But blue whales are already the largest animals that have ever lived on Earth, bigger than any dinosaur. What makes deep-sea sounds even more mysterious is how far they travel. In the deep ocean, sound can travel for thousands of miles without losing much intensity because of something called the SOFAR channel, a layer of water where temperature and pressure create a perfect sound highway. Now, NOAA scientists eventually discovered that the bloop came from an iceberg cracking and breaking away from an Antarctic glacier. But here's the thing. That discovery actually made the mystery worse. If a breaking iceberg can create a sound that travels 3,000 miles underwater and be mistaken for a massive unknown creature, what else might be making sounds down there? The bloop has company. There's the whistle, a sound that rises in frequency like a tea kettle but lasts for hours. The slow down, a sound that gradually decreases in frequency over 7 minutes. Julia, a sound so strange that it was classified for years because scientists couldn't determine if it was natural or artificial. And then there are the sounds we can't even classify. In 2022, NOAA detected a series of rhythmic pulses coming from the deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean. The sounds repeat every 17 seconds, like a heartbeat. And they've been going on continuously for over 2 years. We have no idea what's causing them. Mystery number 2, the underwater lakes that kill. This next discovery sounds like science fiction, but it's 100% real. Scientists recently found a series of brine pools at the bottom of the Red Sea. Deep pockets of hypersaline water so dense and devoid of oxygen that most marine life cannot survive inside them. Picture this. You're swimming along the ocean floor 3,000 feet down, and suddenly you hit what looks like another lake underwater. These brine pools are so dense that fish literally bounce off them like they hit a solid surface. The boundary between the regular seawater and the brine is so distinct, you can see it like looking at the surface of a pond from below. When marine life does fall into these underwater death traps, they die within seconds. The water is not just 5 times saltier than regular seawater, from also completely devoid of oxygen and loaded with toxic hydrogen sulfide. It's like finding pockets of liquid death scattered across the ocean floor. But here's what keeps marine biologists up at night. We're finding these death pools all over the world's oceans, and we have no comprehensive map of where they exist. The Gulf of Mexico has dozens of them. The Mediterranean has mysterious brine lakes that are over 10 feet deep. Some are the size of small ponds, others stretch for miles. These pools form when underground salt deposits dissolve and create water. So dense, it sinks to the bottom and stays there for decades, maybe centuries. The scary part? We don't know how they interact with ocean currents or what happens when they eventually break apart and release their toxic contents into the surrounding water. Even weirder? Some creatures have evolved to live right at the edges of these death pools, feeding off the chemicals that would kill everything else. Giant tube worms, specialized bacteria, and bizarre mussels thrive in this toxic environment. It's like finding aliens in our own backyard. Creatures that have evolved to live in conditions that shouldn't support life. Mystery number 3, the creatures that shouldn't exist. Deep-sea gigantism is one of the most mind-bending phenomena on our planet, and it breaks every rule we thought we knew about biology. Take the giant isopod. Imagine a pill bug, but the size of a small dog and weighing up to 4 pounds. These things can go without eating for 5 years. But that's not even the strangest part. In 2007, scientists found a giant isopod in captivity that refused to eat for 5 years and 43 days before finally dying. They literally starved themselves to death rather than eat the food scientists offered them. We still don't know why. Then there are giant tube worms living around underwater volcanoes, thriving in water that's hot enough to melt lead. We're talking 750 degrees Fahrenheit. They have no mouth, no stomach, no digestive system at all. They survive entirely off bacteria that live inside them, converting toxic chemicals like hydrogen sulfide into food. These worms can live for over 300 years and grow to be 8 feet long. But here's the mystery. When scientists first discovered them in 1977, they couldn't figure out how they reproduced. It took 40 years of research to discover that baby tube worms drift through the deep ocean for months as microscopic larvae before finding their own vent to call home. The vampire squid might have the most disturbing survival strategy of all. When threatened, it turns itself inside out, revealing spines covered in bioluminescent mucus. It can also eject a cloud of glowing particles that disorient predators while it escapes. But the really weird part? It's not actually a squid. It's something entirely different that scientists had to create a whole new classification for. But here's what keeps scientists up at night. Every time we go down there, we find something that rewrites biology textbooks. In 2024 alone, researchers discovered over 100 new species in just a single deep-sea expedition off the coast of Chile. We've found fish with transparent heads, so they can look up through their own skulls to spot prey silhouetted against the faint light from above. The barrel-eye fish has tubular eyes that rotate inside its transparent head, like binoculars. Then there's the Dumbo octopus, which lives deeper than any other octopus, up to 2,000–3,000 feet down. They have fins that look like elephant ears and can change colors even in complete darkness. But here's the mystery. They lay their eggs on dead whale carcasses, and we have no idea how they find these whale falls in the vast darkness of the deep sea. Some of the longest animals on Earth live in the deep sea. The Praia dubia siphonophore can reach lengths of 130 feet, longer than a blue whale. But it's not actually one animal. It's a colony of hundreds of specialized organisms working together like a biological spaceship. Mystery number 4, the missing heat. Here's a mystery that could change everything we know about climate change, and it's happening right beneath our feet. Scientists know that our oceans absorb 93% of the excess heat from global warming. That's the equivalent of 4 Hiroshima bombs worth of energy every single second for the past 150 years. But here's the problem. When they measure ocean temperatures layer by layer, the numbers don't add up. Massive amounts of heat are disappearing into the deep ocean. But we can't track where it's going or what's happening to it down there. NOAA has deployed thousands of temperature sensors called Argo floats throughout the world's oceans. These robotic devices dive up to 6,000 feet deep every 10 days, measuring temperature and salinity as they rise back to the surface. But even with 4,000 of these sensors constantly monitoring the oceans, we're still missing huge amounts of heat. Some scientists think it's connected to underwater volcanic activity we haven't discovered yet. The deep sea has more volcanic activity than all land volcanoes combined. But most of it happens in complete darkness, miles below the surface where we can't monitor it. The mid-ocean ridge system stretches for over 4,000 miles along the sea floor. That's longer than the circumference of the Earth. Along this ridge, the ocean floor is literally spreading apart, creating new crust and releasing heat from the Earth's interior. But we've only mapped about 20% of these ridge systems in detail. Here's what's really disturbing. This missing heat could be driving underwater currents that affect weather patterns across the entire planet. The deep ocean currents that carry heat around the globe are powered by temperature differences. If we can't track where the heat is going, we can't predict how these currents might change. Climate scientists admit that their biggest uncertainty isn't greenhouse gases or atmospheric temperature, it's what's happening in the deep ocean. We're essentially flying blind when predicting our planet's climate future because we don't understand the largest heat sink on Earth. But perhaps the most unsettling mystery is what we're doing to the deep sea before we even understand it. Deep sea mining operations are potentially destroying incredibly important ecosystems that we know almost nothing about. Companies are now scraping the ocean floor to extract rare metals needed for smartphones and electric car batteries. They're literally strip mining the deep sea, creating plumes of sediment that can be detected from space. These operations target polymetallic nodules, potato-sized rocks that grow on the seafloor over millions of years. But here's the terrifying part. These nodules are home to creatures that exist nowhere else on Earth. We're essentially destroying alien worlds to make better batteries. Damage to the deep seafloor can take centuries to heal. In 1989, researchers disturbed a small area of the seafloor in the Pacific Ocean to study recovery rates. When they returned in 2015 to 26 years later, the tracks were still clearly visible, and the ecosystem had barely begun to recover. Marine biologists estimate that up to 91% of marine species are still undiscovered, and most of them live in the deep sea. We could be driving creatures to extinction before we even know they exist. NOAA scientists are still solving deep-sea mysteries that began over 100 years ago. In museum collections around the world, there are preserved specimens of deep-sea creatures that were collected decades before we had the technology to properly study them. DNA analysis is now revealing that many of these old specimens represent entirely new species. Every year, our technology gets better, and every year, we realize how little we actually know. The most advanced ROVs can now dive to the deepest parts of the ocean and stay down for months. But even with this technology, we're still just scratching the surface. The creatures down there, might hold cures for diseases we haven't even discovered yet. Deep-sea organisms have already provided compounds used to treat cancer, HIV, and Alzheimer's disease. But we're potentially destroying these natural laboratories before we can study them. So here's the question that should keep you up at night. In the 95% of ocean we haven't explored, what else is down there? We've identified about 250,000 marine species, but scientists estimate there could be over 2 million species in our oceans. That means we're missing roughly 1.75 million life forms sharing our planet. Some of them might be larger than whales. Some might be more intelligent than dolphins. Some might be so alien that we don't even have words to describe them yet. The deep sea isn't just Earth's final frontier. It's proof that we're living on a planet we barely understand. The truth is out there, or in this case, down there. Every mystery we've covered today is backed by hard science, but science that raises more questions than answers. What do you think is the most disturbing deep-sea mystery? The sounds we can't explain? The creatures that shouldn't exist? Or the fact that we're destroying ecosystems we haven't even discovered yet? Drop your theories in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button for more classified mysteries, and ring the notification bell, because the deep sea is giving up its secrets, and you don't want to miss what we uncover next. Welcome to Classified Earth, where the truth is stranger than fiction.